Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. Once again, good morning and welcome to all the Upasakas and Upasikas who are here and also those who are joining online on this Sunday Dhamma program. Some of you are coming regularly and some of you may have come few times or maybe the first time. But as we assemble here on this Sunday, like every other Sunday, assemble here to learn the Dhamma. Dhamma is the path to freedom from suffering. So as we are here, as we leave, we all have the body and the mind. This is common to all of us, having the body and having the mind. And then the body is having its own nature, also the mind is having its own nature. And then we have our ideas, perceptions, expectations, wishes. Based on those perceptions and ideas, the way we perceive, so the body and the mind, as it works, as it functions, it has its own way of functioning. The body, for example, made up of these four elements, four characteristics: solidity or liquidity, and the gas and the heat, and it keeps on changing. That's a big change, depends on environment, depends on food, depends on state of mind, depends on the actions that we have performed, good or bad. These characteristics keep on changing. They are not one fixed set of objects in the body, that this earth element, water element, air element, heat element, they will remain just like that from birth to death. It's their nature, depending on these conditions, to change. That is the nature of the body. Rupa Dhamma, nature of the body. We cannot do anything about that. We can try to control our diet, or maybe do some exercise, or certain things, follow certain lifestyle to reduce some of the impacts of this change. But to absolutely control this change, it is not possible. So if the change keeps happening, then what happens? There is aging. The body keeps growing, 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 growing. And when it is growing, only one direction it goes, the direction of death. If the body wouldn't grow, wouldn't change, then the body will be stable. But then the body is growing. From birth, ever since we were born, we are growing. This body is growing. So therefore, if it is growing, then it will undergo transformation, change, decay, and eventually disease also will come, and then death also will come. That's very process, just like anything else. You buy a new car, you drive it around 1 day, 2 day, 1 month, 2 months, 5 year, 10 year, then it breaks down. Just like that. But then when your car, after using it for many years, when the car is old, then you say, okay, this car is of no use, I will sell it off, or I will do something, I will get a new car. With this body, we can't do such things. This is the body we have. As long as it works, it works. When it stops working, we can't sell it off, exchange, get another one. We can't do such things. But then when the car is almost broken, people may be a little unhappy, not so much. If the body is very old or fragile or broken, then people are very unhappy. Have you considered why is it we buy so many things, we get so many things, they also become old and not any more useful, and then we discard them. We are not so much bothered. But then when the body is decaying and then finally no longer usable, about to break up or breaking up, why do we feel bad? Because we have a sense of I with regard to this body. We don't have a sense of so much of an I with regard to the house or the car or the things that we use. But with regard to this body, we have a very strong sense of I, my body. So because of this strong sense of I, whatever happens to the body, then we contemplate it as it happens to me. I am affected. That's why I feel sad, unhappy. I have unsatisfactory feeling. And the mind also. When one discourse, Lord Buddha says, with regard to the body, at least people could say for some time it remains for some same, and then it changes. With regard to the mind, that also it's not possible to say because it is so fastly changing. It is so quickly changing. The thoughts are coming and going. Consciousness is arising, passing away. So it's so fast. Not even a second. One consciousness arises, passes away. Another one arises, passes away. So many of them in a second. So then we should, if we see it like that the mind is also changing, then we don't feel unhappy. It is changing. It has the nature to change. But then, as you see, if people in this world, they always say other people they change. They say like that. Other people, their behavior changes, their idea changes, their perception changes. Also our idea and our perception also changes. What does it mean? That people, we have this expectation, underlying expectation, it should not change. It should never change. It should be like this. But is it possible? If that was possible, if the mind should remain the same, then nobody will fight with anyone. Once you say, okay, we are friends, then they will never become enemies. But that is not the case. Forget about enemies. Even the parents and the children also, for example. Many times they don't agree on things. Many times the parents and the children don't agree. Their ideas are different. But then earlier, the same children, when they were younger or smaller, little children, the children would listen to the parents, and parents would say, our children are so good, so nice, like this, like that, And then the same children, after growing up, they had fighting with their parents. Why people do like this is a point to consider. Because again, with regard to the mind also, people think, my mind will remain like this, my children's mind, that also will remain like this. It should be like this, and it should not change. So there is also this concept of I associated with it. With regard to the body or with regard to the mind. So when we have this I, then whatever happens to the I, we are unhappy, no? If I doesn't get what I wants, then I is unhappy. If the wishes of I is not fulfilled, then I is unhappy. And if what I wishes and gets, and then it goes away, then again I is unhappy. So all the time I is, if it has good things, it is afraid good things will go away. If it has bad things, it is afraid bad things will remain forever. So all the time I is troubled. I is not there, but then we believe this I is there and this is trouble. And then when this trouble is there, we have suffering. So then Lord Buddha said, that's why Lord Buddha said, wisdom is the light of the world, the real light. The most shining light is the wisdom. He didn't say sun and moon and this and that. Sun comes out every day. Evening time, moonlight also comes. Many days in a month. But then the sunlight or the moonlight or other lights or the electricity lights, they don't allow us to see. This is where the suffering arises. This is where the suffering takes its root. This is where it is rooted. This is the cause. Sunlight, moonlight, nothing. So that's why they are not the best light in the world. Wisdom is the best light because if we have wisdom, we can see. If there is suffering, then we can see this is suffering. Like when we have this idea of I, as I was saying, with regard to the body or with regard to the mind, then what is the end product? Suffering. Unsatisfactoriness or dissatisfaction or unpleasantness or unwillingness to change or accept the change. So the end product is suffering. Suffering in one form or the other. That much is universal because suffering is universal. But knowing suffering is not necessarily universal. Like this I was saying, people have ideas about the body and then it changes. People are unhappy. Idea about the mind, then it changes. Again we are unhappy. That is, everybody experiences these feelings in one way or the other. But then we are unhappy. This is suffering. And we have this clinging to this I, this clinging. This is why we are unhappy. This is not seen. People say, no, we have suffering. I have this suffering, I have that suffering. I am unhappy because of this, I am unhappy because of that. But then they stop there. Then they stop there. They don't go farther to see if this is unhappiness, then what is the main reason? Why? Why is it like this? Why? Where does the mind get stuck? Why does it not feel free? Why does it not feel light? Why does it feel heavy? That is the right kind of exploration. Exploration of the first noble truth, second noble truth, dukkha, cause of dukkha. If we don't go and explore there, then we have no way of knowing that ending of dukkhas. Mind is obsessed with the idea of I, so it likes and it dislikes and then it likes again and it then dislikes again. Because I should be happy, I should not be unhappy, so it keeps on liking and disliking. And then it feels tired and then it goes to another place. Another place means not necessarily another place. In the mind also, in the second noble truth we say, no? Lord Buddha has said, Tatra Tatra Bhinandini, in this object or in that object, in this or in that. It goes here and then it goes there and then it keeps on doing. It keeps on roaming, going round and round. Within the dukkha, within the unsatisfactoriness. But then it does not see this, that this is suffering. There is a cause because of which their suffering comes. Like that. So when we practice, whatever we practice, dana or sila or bhavana, all these eightfold path, right understanding and right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right meditative absorption, whatever, all these 8 factors. Why did the Lord Buddha call them Samma? He added a Samma, right. He didn't say meditative absorption. He didn't say mindfulness. He didn't say speech. He said right speech, right meditative absorption, right effort. He added one right with all these words. Samma sati, samma samadhi, samma vayama, samma vacha, samma kammanta, like this. Now that has a meaning. When Lord Buddha added this meaning, he added this word, it must have had a meaning. The Buddhas wouldn't add just for the sake of sounding nice or saying something or like this. They don't do such things. Unless it is absolutely necessary to explain, they don't add anything, they don't deduct, minus anything, subtract. So, when the Lord Buddha added this word right, it means this, that there should be something which this eightfold path, 8 factors of this eightfold path, there should be something additional. Additional to what? What people generally do. What people generally do? They go with the craving. They go with the liking. They will go with the disliking. So there should be something more than this. If they just do what they normally do, then there is no way this eightfold path would lead one to the Nibbana. So if it has to lead somebody to Nibbana, then they should do something other than what they are doing. What they are normally doing, if that is good enough, then they would have reached Nibbana. But they didn't. So he added this right, means in every step of this eightfold path, in every aspect of this eightfold path, you see, whether it is right effort or the right speech or right livelihood or right action or whatever it is, right mindfulness, right meditative absorption, whatever it is, there is an element of letting go of the aspects of samsara, of the craving and ignorance. When, say, people speak, they speak whatever they like to. It may be harsh speech, it may be lies, it may be divisive speech, creating fights between people, like that. And that's why they are stuck in the samsara, because of such speech. We are all speaking. But how we speak, that determines whether we will go towards Nibbana or we will go towards samsara. How we speak, that itself will determine. If we are speaking truthfully, with metta, seeking welfare of others, seeking benefit of others, not using unnecessary harsh words or abusive words, then that itself is a tool to transcend the samsara, that speech itself. And if these things are not added, if these things are not done, then that speech becomes a cause of repeated birth and death. When it is rooted in lies or in abusive speech or divisive speech or such things, then that speech leads to samsara, deeper and deeper samsara, and lower birth in the lower worlds, etc. So many things. So he added samma vacha, means don't just speak. Speak in a way that leads upwards. Upanaiko. leading upwards. The one of the qualities of the Dhamma given by Lord Buddha is opanayiko, leading upwards. So this opanayiko, speak in a manner which leads upwards. What leads us upward? Opposite of what leads us downward. If we just keep lying, then our mind gets more and more entangled in the defilements. If we just use the abusive speech or harsh speech or harmful, say things harmful to others, or create fighting or suffering for people through our speech, then our defilements are getting strengthened. So the way to discard the defilements right here is to abandon the wrong speech and practice the right speech. Truth, starting with truthfulness. When we are truthful, means our mind is straight that time. Our mind is not crooked. When we are lying, our mind tends to get crooked. And with a crooked mind, there is no chance of coming out of samsara. When we can speak lies, then mind will remain like this. And when we repeat speaking lies again, then mind will get farther entangled in the defilements. It will never come out of defilements. So he added the samma, right speech. You speak and you speak in a right manner. Similarly, right action. You do actions and you do actions in the right manner. You make the effort and you make the effort in the right manner. So all these, samma vacha, samma kammanta, samma ajiva, samma sankappa, samma ditti. So leaving the wrong manner. Wrong manner starts with ignorance and craving. So he added this samma, right manner. Abandoning ignorance and craving, you should speak, do your actions, earn your livelihood, make the effort, practice the mindfulness, whatever you do. Develop the wisdom. Abandoning the wrong approach. That's why it is called samma. All the 8 factors. He added one right. Samma ditti, samma sankappo, samma vacha, like this. Because when it is done in the wrong manner, then it doesn't lead to nibbana. It leads to deeper and deeper samsara. And bigger suffering. Just as we were talking about the body and the mind and our attitude towards the body and the mind. The clinging with the concept, with the idea of I. And as we cling, and we keep on clinging, and it doesn't stop, then automatically every small thing will become a source of big suffering. Every small ups and downs will become a source of big suffering because this samma, right, is not present. Only ignorance is present. So it will lead to bigger and bigger suffering. And then if we do the other way around, then every big suffering also becomes a condition for our wisdom. Every small suffering and every big suffering becomes a source of our wisdom. When we have suffering, we can acknowledge. And then as we suffer, we can acknowledge this is why I have likings, dislikings, cravings. That's why my mind gets stuck. That's why I think with the I all the time. This is my body, this is my mind. It should not change. It should be like this. It should not be like this. And then I keep on suffering. Why did it happen? Why did it not happen like this? Why did it happen like that? That's why I keep suffering. So you will also recognize dukkha samudaya. And then if we are able to recognize dukkha samudaya, cause of suffering, then cessation of suffering also will gradually understand. If we don't know the suffering and the cause, then we can never know the ending. If we don't know what causes the sickness, we cannot stop the sickness. Sickness will only increase, it will not decrease. Because the cause will remain there. This is what the Buddha taught. The whole practice of Dhamma is starting with the abandoning of the wrong approach and starting with the wise approach. What we generally do day to day, what people generally do, that always involves the wrong approach. Thinking with the I, thinking with the craving, thinking with the ignorance. And that can never be the right approach, because if that was the right approach, people would have become freed from samsara by this time. We have been born and died many times. And if that was the right approach we were practicing, then we would have become enlightened by this time. So clearly it is not working. All the approach that we have taken, world approach connected with the world, clearly that is not working. We must understand, this is not working. Please don't bring shoes inside the temple. Please keep it outside. So, the right approach and the wrong approach. This is how we have to determine again and again in our mind through our own practice of the Eightfold Path. With right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, whatever it is. Through this, we have to verify, check again, recheck again, do it again, so that we can continue. Continue to move away from suffering towards liberation. That's very fundamental. We can take many approach. If we just take, okay, Lord Buddha says, you should follow Panchashila. Okay, I follow Panchashila. Okay. But then, just for the sake of following Panchashila, he didn't say like this. No, you just follow, blindly follow. Nothing more, nothing less. You just follow this. That's all. For that, he didn't tell us to follow Panchashila. He told us to follow Panchashila for a specific purpose, for lay people. What is the opposite of 5 precepts? People say, Panatipata Veramani, abstaining from killing or violence. Opposite of this, killing, violence, hateful actions. So if you see, just the opposite of this Panchashila. That's what people do, no, the samsara. They do not follow, and which is their normal tendency, not to follow. To tell lies, or to take others' things, or to harm, or be violent, or to not to respect the relationship, or to indulge in intoxicant. That's how people live. So, when Lord Buddha was telling lay devotees to follow Panchashila, he was telling this with a view that if they were to follow this sincerely, then their mind will turn away from the world, turn towards Nibbana gradually. So this is a tool to turn away from the world. 5 Panchashila or 8 precepts or more precepts, whatever. Or generosity, for example, dana, generosity. Lay people offer dana. Dana is good, dana is meritorious, therefore I give dana. Only for this much Lord Buddha was not telling people to give dana. Dana has an element of letting go of the greed and craving and selfishness and such things. So you have to give up some amount of the greed. To the extent you are giving something, to that extent you have to give up the greed or selfishness or craving, or if you have anger or hatefulness or ill will towards that person, or some kind of aversion, you have to give up that aversion before you give something to that person. So you have to cultivate a mind of goodwill, metta. So this is why Lord Buddha was telling people, unless you cultivate, then your mind tends to go to the greed and craving and selfishness and such things repeatedly. So to do dana is to cut down these tendencies. To practice sila also like this. To practice bhavana is also, meditation is also, when we have these tendencies, so many thoughts or unwholesome tendencies in the mind, subtle tendencies, and as we practice bhavana, meditation, and we encounter them in our meditation, and as we let them go, we do not involve with them, then their power will reduce. So this is the whole Eightfold Path. Dana, Sila, Bhavana, all this. That's where you practice the Samma, right. So if you practice rightly, then you will surely go in the right direction. If you practice wrongly, you will go in the wrong direction. So the Buddha understood clearly where people go wrong, where people make mistake, why people cannot come out of the suffering. That's why he could teach this Eightfold Path in such beautiful way that people could understand and people could make themselves free. So first he found out, this is where people go wrong. This is where people make mistake. This is where people generate more ignorance and craving and get stuck. So he did opposite of that Eightfold Path. Some right view. View everybody has, this and that about the samsara. World is eternal, world is not eternal, created by someone, not created by someone, all views. Suffering is created by oneself, suffering is created by another, all kinds of views. Views we all have. Instead of just having views, Lord Buddha said, develop the right view, things as it is. Wisdom as it is. Yatha bhutang jnana dassanam, as it is. Don't add your view, know the real nature of the world. That is better. Then your view is right. Because whatever is dark, light is light, you know. Otherwise, people tend to think dark as bright and bright as dark. So as you practice the Dhamma every day, you must remember these things. This is what we should do. This is what we must investigate in our mind. This is what we must, if our mind goes to the other direction, this is how we must bring it back in the right direction. Because Eightfold Path is all about, what do we say in Pali? Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada. Path leading to the cessation of suffering. Path leading to the cessation of suffering. So, checking ourselves with sati, that is it. Am I really going in the path leading to cessation of suffering, or am I going in the path of increasing suffering? That is the right approach one should take. to practice the Dhamma. Because many times people think I am doing correctly. Dana, Sila, Bhavana, whatever we do, it has a purpose of leading upwards. Means not just to get stuck with the samsara as it is, but to go a little better than this. That is Nibbana, better than this. So if that purpose is fulfilled, then you know you are doing right. If that purpose is somewhere missing and you are doing everything, but that purpose is missing, then you should know, okay, something is not right. I need to improve. I need to make some changes. So this much we offer to you today for your contemplation and practice. And we conclude the Dhamma talk here. May all beings share the merits. Sa.